Hey everybody, I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you can see me pretty well. I'm in the car. I like to do these videos in the car, but I hope you guys can see me really well. I wanted to just go ahead and get this out. Anytime I feel like the Lord is giving me something to say, anytime the Lord is giving me something to say, I just like to get it out there. I don't like to wait and sleep on it. I like to get it off of my hands and do what it is and I'm supposed to do with it. So this is almost kind of like a live podcast, kind of, in a sense. Like, this is definitely something that I would have said on the podcast, but I really want to give more like face-to-face interaction, like you guys have asked for, and just like interact with you guys more. So that's why I went ahead and did this as a video. But today we're going to talk about, as you can see in the title, it won't let me go. It won't let me go. And I got my phone here, got my notes, but we're coming from Genesis 32, 26, and 28. And I'm not preaching. For one, I'm not a preacher. But for two, this is not preaching, but to give some context, I do want to read this first. So Genesis 32, 26, and 28. And he said, "Let me go, for the day breaks." But he said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." So he said to him, "What is your name?" He said, "Jacob." And he said, "Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel. For you have struggled with God and with men, and you have prevailed." So just to give you a little bit of very, very general context about this scripture and where this scripture is coming from, Jacob stole his brother Esau's blessing, which resulted in understandable hesitation when it was time for him to go back home. And you can read more about this in Genesis 27. His father came and wanted to bless Esau, but Jacob tricked his father into thinking that he was Esau, and so that resulted in Jacob receiving the blessing when it was supposed to be Esau. And so, of course, and this again is read the whole chapter of Genesis 32, and I'm just really paraphrasing very generally because I don't want to get off the point of the video. But so when Jacob heard his brother was coming to meet him with these 400 men, again, read chapter 32, he got really nervous and started gathering all these gifts as like a peace offering unto his brother. So he was really, really nervous. So again, we're coming from Genesis 32, 26, and 28, and the topic is "It won't let me go." And so, sometimes in life, we have dreams and passions that we just cannot seem to shake. Have you ever had something, maybe as a child or even in high school or middle school, that you always wanted to do and you think about it, it just won't leave you? It could be anything in any sector, any business, anything that you've wanted to do forever, and it just won't leave you. So sometimes in life we have these dreams, we have these passions that we just can't seem to shake. God may have given you an idea, a vision, a mission that he wants you to accomplish, and you're just not, you just can't seem to feel fully settled until you actually accomplish it. You just can't seem to just, either you're working on it or you haven't really gotten a chance to, start working on it, and you just cannot feel, you just don't feel settled until you've accomplished it, excuse me. And just like Jacob, you have to be determined that Jacob's determination is what you need for these goals to be accomplished. So just like Jacob, you have to be determined. That Jacob determination is just what you need for these goals to be accomplished. Going back to the scripture, he said, "Let me go, for the day breaks." So the man that they're mentioning here in the scripture is an angel. So the angel said, "Let me go, for the day breaks." But he said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." And he was relentless. he was completely relentless and wrestling with them to the point that his hip socket came out of joint. So do when you fight, just anybody that's had a fight, or if you've had a brutal fight, or if you've heard of a fight, you got to be fighting pretty hard to break a bone, break a muscle. I'm talking about real, genuine fights, not the fights that people bring guns to. I'm talking about fighting with hands and fists and legs. For his hip to be out, they must have been tussling hard. They had to be tussling hard for his hip joint to come out of socket. You have to think about that. And Jacob was determined. He was coming for something. He didn't care. He was going to faced that angel head on. And I want to ask you all, are you willing to wrestle for the dream? Are you willing to lose a little sleep for the dream? Fight off anxiety for the dream. If you think about it, Jacob dealt with all three of those things. If you read that scripture and really dissect it, he wrestled physically because, again, he was injured. He lost sleep. He was a little anxious. He started gathering all of these tools and these things of, let me get some gifts for my brother because I know what I did and this is my peace offering. I want him to accept me again. And he fight out. Are you willing to fight off anxiety for the dream? So again, he started gathering all these gifts. He was anxious. He was anxious. He's like, I got to do something about this. I gotta figure it out. Are you willing to wrestle for that dream? Are you willing to lose sleep for that dream? Are you willing to fight off anxiety for that dream? And, if you continue to read, and I would encourage you to read, Genesis 33, read that scripture before, read Genesis 32, and read Genesis 33 to give you context. And then again, go back to Genesis 27, and that will bring all of this together. And again, I'm going very general because that's not the point of this video, but read that. At the end of all that wrestling, he walked away with the victory. He escaped Laban as well. Sorry, y'all, my phone cut off, so it might be a little choppy. But at the end of that, Jacob, at the end of all that wrestling, at the end of all that anxiety, at the end of all that worrying that he went through, after he tried to gather the gifts, and after all of this that he went through, he ended up receiving the victory. God allowed that angel to come. He wrestled with that angel, and because he toiled and he endured, he received the victory. He received that peace with his brother. His brother wasn't mad at him. If you read on, his brother was no longer mad at him. They made peace. It was a peaceful situation. He was favored. And if you read again that scripture, it talks about you have struggled with God and with men and have prevailed. He wrestled. He was willing to, receive that physical injury. He was willing to be anxious. He was willing to do what it took to get to where he was trying to go. And that's the point I'm trying to make, is it won't let me go. It is that dream. It is that goal. It is that purpose. It is that vision that God gave you. You might be hitting roadblocks. You might be hitting stumbling blocks. You might be trying, learning curves. You're trying to figure things out, but it won't let you go. What God put on your heart, what God put on your mind, it won't let you go. And I just want to encourage you to keep going. I want to ask you if you're willing to go through again. Are you willing to wrestle for the dream? Are you willing to lose a little sleep? Are you willing to fight off anxiety for the dream? How hard are you willing to go for the dream? And if it's not letting you go, if you waking up, I hope you can sleep at night. But when I say you can't sleep at night, I'm saying you wake up with it on your mind. It pops up on your mind throughout the day. You talk to somebody and it comes back to your mind. You pray and it comes to your mind. That's something that's not letting you go. That dream, that vision, that purpose, if it's in you, if it's not letting you go, wrestle. Be willing to wrestle. Be willing to toil for what it is that God has placed on your heart and your mind. And so I love you guys. Just wanted to bring the podcast live, I guess, and just talk to you guys and engage with you guys. I hope you can really see me pretty well, but be willing to wrestle for those visions and those gifts and those things that God has given you. Don't be discouraged because of the learning curves. Don't be don't feel defeated. It may be hard. The wait may be a little longer than you expected. You might feel like you're making small steps forward, except instead of the leaps that you really wish you were making. Don't give up. Keep going. Hold on to what God has given you. I love you guys. I will talk to you later.